too sexy for my life. I see the moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Hey, welcome back everybody. My name's Isaiah and I am just winging it. And here is the somewhat final product of the title card you see, and we're going to take this and turn it into that. So anyway, I'm a big fan of pinup girls, and then I got thinking, what's the male equivalent to a pinup girl? I don't know. So years ago I decided to take Frankenstein's monster and make him into an underwear model, a Calvin Klein underwear model to be exact, and this is what came of it. Kinda neat? I don't know. Well, somebody liked it enough that they purchased it. He now lives in Paris. And then I thought, what if I took the Wolfman and made him an underwear model? So I'm going to base that sculpture off of this guy that committed a hate crime some years ago. And anyway, grab your clay, grab your tinfoil, and get to it. So anyway, like with most projects, I pretty much just start out with a ball of foil and some clay. And what I'm doing here is I'm getting the general size of the head, because if you are familiar with sculpting, then you might be familiar with the 8-head rule, whereas if you have a full standing figure, the size of the character's height is based off of the size of its head. And for here, I'm going to need about 30 inches of wire. So, with the size of the head, let's say being 2 inches tall, and multiplied by 8, you're going to have a 16-inch tall character. Shit. Is this satisfying to anybody else? Just me? Okay. So this is going to be kind of the waistline of the actual sculpt, and now I'm just bulking it out with some foil. And there we go. Pretty good, I guess. Okay, and now that I have it covered in clay, and the basic shape is starting to take place, off we go. So I guess for the remainder of this video, I'll just start talking about some 1941 Wolfman history. So in case you were unaware, Lon Chaney Jr., he was the one who actually played the Wolfman. He was the son of Lon Chaney Sr., the legendary silent film actor known as the Man of a Thousand Faces. He was the lead character in Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Wolfman was Chaney Jr.'s breakout horror role, and it became so closely associated with him that he was the only actor to play the Wolfman in all of the Universal sequels and its crossovers. So the makeup was done by the legendary Jack Pierce, who also created the looks of the Frankenstein monster and the Mummy. The transformation sequences were actually pretty groundbreaking for the time, and they used a technique involving lap dissolves, where Chaney sat in the same position for hours while makeup was slowly applied in stages, and then each were filmed separately, and then blending in editing. So one thing that some people might not know is that Bela Lugosi was originally considered for the role of Wolfman. Lugosi, who appears in the film as a gypsy fortune teller who is also a werewolf, spoilers, was originally considered for the title role, but his character's name, Bela, is a rare instance of an actor playing a character with the same name in a Universal monster film. And they did not want to make him the title character because he was already Dracula, and they wanted a new fresh face for this film because it was a Universal original film. So 1941's Wolfman actually introduced the modern werewolf mythos. Before the Wolfman, werewolves didn't have a standardized myth, and then after the film, silver bullets became canonically deadly to werewolves. The idea that the full moon triggers the transformation came entirely from this film. It actually wasn't part of the folklore. The werewolf became a tragic figure, cursed and sympathetic, a man doomed to hunt others, especially those he loves, and this would echo in countless films, books, and TV shows. So there are later film reboots and homages, such as The Wolfman of 2010, which was a big-budget horror remake starring Benicio del Toro as Lawrence Talbot and Anthony Hopkins as his father. The film honored the original's look and feel, using practical makeup effects by Rick Baker over CGI when possible. And the transformation scene was a tribute to the original, but updated with more modern effects. Despite mixed reviews, it gained a cult following for its atmosphere and gore, but it ultimately didn't do that well. Other ones, such as Van Helsing of 2004, Hugh Jackman's character ultimately transforms into a werewolf in like this twist, and the werewolves there were more feral, muscular, and animalistic, marking a shift in werewolf visual design. But I would have to say, at least for me, the most famous one outside of the 1941 Wolfman would be the Monster Squad from 1987. This features a version of the Wolfman in kind of a kid-friendly, action-packed way, but I think if you've seen the film, yeah, I guess it was kind of meant for kids because kids in the 80s were kind of built different. I'm sorry if that offends you, but there were just certain things that if you saw it now, you're just like, damn, that's kind of messed up. That movie made famous the line Wolfman's got nards. And there's a particular scene that I was trying to watch it with my daughter, and when Dracula picks up the little girl and he says, "Give me the amulet, you bitch," and then like hisses at her, it kind of freaked her out. And well, I don't know. Kind of felt bad, but it was still an awesome movie. There are some genetic and psychological analogies, such as in modern stories like The Incredible Hulk or Jekyll and Hyde reimaginings. Characters often share roots with the Wolfman, such as a duality between civility and savagery, intellect and instinct. The werewolf curse is sometimes reimagined as a genetic mutation or a psychological disorder, but with the original emotional blueprint, man struggling against his own. So I guess a fun fact, Lon Chaney Jr. obviously didn't enjoy wearing the makeup. The elaborate werewolf makeup created by Jack Pierce, it took about 5 to 6 hours to apply and then even longer to remove. He later joked that he had played the Wolfman in so many sequels simply because no one else wanted to endure the makeup process. At one point, Chaney fell asleep in the makeup chair, and Jack Pierce just kept on working. So the film wasn't initially a huge hit. Compared to Dracula and Frankenstein, The Wolfman was a modest success at first, but then over time it became one of Universal's most beloved monster films due to its enduring atmosphere and tragic storyline. So, as I've said previously, this was actually Universal's first original monster film. Unlike Dracula or Frankenstein, The Wolfman wasn't based on a book or a legend, and it was a completely original creation by screenwriter Kurt Siodmak and Universal Studios. In sequels, Larry Talbot, he dies multiple times, only to be brought back again and again. Some of the ways he was killed was being shot, electrocuted, frozen, drowned, and some fans joke that he's the original unkillable horror movie monster. Another thing about the film was the gypsy curse was actually a real folklore touch. While most of the werewolf mythos was invented, the idea of a gypsy curse causing transformation was inspired by Romani folklore, though greatly fictionalized by Hollywood. So here's something strange. This is my liquid Sculpey. I had a crack here, and in order to repair it, I was going to put the liquid Sculpey on it and then some clay over it. But I noticed, like, yeah, it's old, but it does this weird crumbly effect and then kind of goes back into a liquid form. I'm not really sure what the cause of this is, other than it just being old. I forget how long I've had it. It looks like it still kind of wants to work, but I'm curious, like, has anybody else had this issue? And why does it do this? All right, so I was able to repair the crack. Hopefully this won't result in anything bigger once I bake it, but we'll see what happens. And now I'm just painstakingly applying each individual tuft of hair and trying to put some detail into it, but it's kind of working. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So yeah, this process took forever. I'm not really sure what else to say other than I don't know. Sometimes you're just working on something, you got an idea in your head, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be cool. But you don't really think about all of the little things that have to go into it. And then once you get to that step of the process, you're just like, oh man, this is going to take forever. Like here, yeah, I probably could have just sculpted or carved like some hair or fur patterns into the already existing clay, but I decided to just put more clay over it to bulk him out. And I figured that that would kind of look a little bit better once I had the texture put in, and then used some isopropyl alcohol to kind of help smooth it out. So here's another example of having an idea in my head, and in my head it looked great, but as I was applying the clay, I was just kind of not really sure where to go, and I'm like, well, maybe this looks good, and well, ultimately it just kind of looked a little too cartoonish when I was finished. And then I asked my wife, I'm like, what do you think? And she was like, in the nicest way possible, like it could be better with more detail. So then I went back and I ended up reworking it into what it is now. And into the oven. Hopefully nothing horrible happens. So at this point in the video, I wanted to bring this up. This is what he started out as, and then baby steps and little bits here and there along the way. The process of this, he ultimately turned into what you're seeing at the end. And I would just go ahead and assume that 99.9% of the artists out there all get to a point in pretty much every project they're working on, and they're just like, wow, this looks like crap. And it does look like crap, because you're not done with it yet. So just keep going. Okay, and just applying some final touches here, and I think that about wraps this up for the Calvin Klein underwear model known as the Under-Werewolf. And now I think it's time for his close-up. Alright, well, that's the end of that. And I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video here, and if you think I've earned it, how about throwing me a like, or maybe even a subscribe? Well, I hope to see you back here again, and remember, just keep winging it.